Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ketogenic Fasting Project. My name is Tom, and today I'm talking about the PKD diet again. Um, the PKD diet is a type of carnivore diet, as it were. Not not necessarily because there's a carnivore movement, but because the diet is based in sort of an ancestral medicine, as it were. So, anyways, I'd been suffering from psoriasis, and I decided to try the PKD diet. I was trying to piece together how the diet worked, and then I found out I could just go right to the source, which is Paleo Medicina, and get help from them. So, anyways, what I've got a picture of here is my right leg from April of this year, April 2019. That's typical sort of psoriasis outbreak for me, and um, it's improved. That's for sure. Now I started my first consultation with Paleo Medicina was in early May, and I'd already been trying to figure out how to do the diet and get on the diet. So it's kind of probably more practicing than actually doing, but it was my psoriasis was getting better, but I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. I didn't know all the ins and outs, and there's nothing better than having a professional advise you on something that's important like this. So this is what that same patch look. I realize it's from a different angle, but this is the same area of this is the same part of my leg. You could kind of faintly see the scars where the large outbreaks were before, and this all seems to be clearing up. So here's another shot of it right here. So this is from a different angle, so you can kind of see this whole area used to be affected, and it's healing up nicely. So I don't expect anything like that to disappear overnight, but maybe for some people it does. This is the back of my right hand from April. You could see the characteristic skin flaking and stuff like that. This is a lesion. This was probably the first lesion I ever really noticed. I showed it to a doctor years ago, and he thought, oh, some kind of eczema, put this cream on it, and it would come and go and come and go and blah blah blah. It's another picture of it, just another angle, same time period. This is mid-April 2019. You can see there's this large sort of outbreak right here, and then a couple of peripheral ones here, maybe even another one there. So, and then this is today. Sorry, the light's not very good, but it's the same area. I did another photo with a different light. It's funny because a lot of these pictures were taken with different cell phones over different periods of time. You break your cell phone, you go get another one. And the camera or the software that processes the photo are a little different, but here's a little bit different lighting. So this is from today. These last two pictures of the back of my hand are from today, and the last two pictures of my leg are from today. So anyways, you could see there's a drastic improvement. You could kind of make out where those other outbreaks were, those kind of little satellite outbreaks right there. So obviously it's much better. You don't see any skin flaking off. There's no swelling really. Maybe just a little bit right there, but it's probably this is more or less seems like scar tissue than it does an active lesion. So I consider that a really good improvement in a pretty short amount of time. So a lot of people have been asking me what I eat. Now, I assume that when you consult with Paleo Medicina, they kind of tailor things for each person based on their medical records, their what disease they're working on, because they do help people with cancer and other autoimmune diseases. Today is Memorial Day in the United States. It's a big holiday, and naturally ribeyes are on sale. So I was down at the meat counter getting some liver and stuff, and I had to get a ribeye. So for me, I would cook this, and actually I already did, and I would take 170 grams of this meat, and then I add to it 100 grams of cooked fat to go with it, and then 30 grams of pate made from beef liver, and the pate is 1 part liver to 0.35 percent 0.35% fat. So I'm not a big fan of liver, but I'm getting by. So the last time I made it, I soaked it in salt water overnight. I didn't really have time for it. Actually got some I'm working on right now. I cooked it this afternoon. Here's a picture of the liver I bought today. The sucker's 3.5 pounds. I couldn't believe it. It's a monster. They had a special order for me. It's kind of weird, you know. Sometimes you just see liver sitting there for sale, or they have it in the display case, and sometimes I think maybe because of the holiday and people buy a lot of steaks, they didn't really have much liver on hand, because I don't think people eat a lot of liver on Memorial Day, so they eat more steaks. So anyways, they were nice enough to get this for me today. They ordered it yesterday, so I cut this up, I put some salt on it, and I'll put it in a pan and cook it. There it is cut up. This is all going to go in a food processor for making pate after it's cooked. There you can see it in the pan cooking. And then this is bone marrow. Now bone marrow basically counts as fat, and if, from what I understand, if you're going to eat a little extra, you want to eat the fat. And I'm supposed to eat I think 400 grams of liver a week and 200 grams of either bone marrow or brains. I'm having an easier time getting bones to make bone marrow than I am brains at the moment. I've been eating brains in the past, but I usually have to get imported frozen sheep brains, which I'd like to buy more local if I could, but I just haven't found a source. So anyways, these marrow bones, I heat them up in the pan. They're actually thawing. They were frozen solid. So I heat them up in the pan, and I basically flip them over, try to get them as warm all the way through, and then I just poke the marrow out, or the bones, and then I add that to the fat, or I just pour it on top of the meals, because I try and prep my meals ahead of time, measure everything out. I have them in glass containers in the fridge. I don't have a lot of free time, especially during the week, because I work during the week, and I spend a lot of time sitting on the freeway commuting. So I prep all my stuff ahead of time, as far out as I can, really. And sometimes I'll have a huge batch of pate after cooking a 3-pound liver and adding another third fat to that. So a lot of it's just going to go in the freezer. I eat a lot of ground beef. Most of the time I buy 10% ground beef, and then I just add the fat to it. You can kind of see there, that's one of the glass containers I use. They have lids that clamp on with a seal so they don't leak. Nobody likes to have their lunch leaking all over the place before they eat it. So this is kind of a picture of what it looks like. This is going to have, either steak or ground beef, and then fat. You can see some of the fat here, and this is actually pate up here sitting on top. That's not very good lighting, so it all kind of looks the same color in this picture, but you can kind of see in the background, here's the meat. It's a little more red. But I pack these lunches. I eat 2 of these meals a day. I noticed I've been getting hungrier earlier in the day, and I've been eating both these meals sooner. So I used to start eating around noon or so, and then I'd eat again around 3 or 4, and now it seems like I'm hungry by like 9, and I'm eating my second meal by like 1 or something like that. And then if I am hungry later, I will have some fat. I keep some extra fat in the fridge. I kind of like to heat it up in the pan, maybe get a little crispy and eat that, and it's pretty satisfying. But that's just kind of I'm usually not hungry after I eat this, so it's really not that much food. And of course, there's a couple weeks there where I lost probably, I think it was 11 pounds real fast, and now things kind of seem to have stabilized. So I imagine there'll be some more weight loss down the road. Here's kind of just another shot of the same thing. This is just fat and meat, pate. And I said I'm not a big fan of the liver. What I did notice is that I make the liver, cook the liver, make the pate, and then if I take a lunch like this to work and I warm it up in the microwave, it actually seems by that point that sort of strong earthy flavor from the liver seems to have dissipated. So it's a lot more enjoyable. So, and I guess it's just reheating it that second time does something. That or maybe it just mellows because it's been around. But I think it's the heating that made the biggest difference. Because I've eaten it cold many a time. I didn't always warm up my lunches, so I know it's probably a little more enjoyable when they're warmed up. So we're back to the first picture. But anyways, a couple of people asked about coffee. Yeah, you're not really supposed to drink coffee on this diet. I think the problem is that so many people like myself who've been drinking coffee for decades, and they know it's hard for people just to quit cold turkey, especially when they're changing all their diet around. And so they're telling me, well, try and cut back to 1 cup per day. And then also, I had started drinking decaf just to see if it made a difference. So I bought some pretty fancy decaf whole beans. And then they said, you know what, why don't you just drink regular coffee? So, because we don't really know what's going on with the decaffeination process, and it could be another complication. So today I actually didn't drink any coffee. It's already like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I managed to skip coffee today. And that's probably been the one thing I've been the least compliant about is, a lot of days I do drink 2 or 3 cups and stuff like that. So, but, I think a lot of that is just about being in the right frame of mind. And especially the people asking me questions, there's like a whole nother level of accountability. It's not just me. It's like people are asking me and I don't want to lie about it. So maybe that was just what I need to get over the hump and stop drinking coffee. So anyways, coffee is not on the menu. I didn't ask about a lot of other foods because I was kind of happy with what they recommended, and I started out, I think, with about 200 grams of meat, 100 grams of fat, and like 50 grams of pate per meal. And then we've tapered it down a little bit because the goal is to get your ketones up to 2.0. So your beta hydroxybutyrate blood level should be about 2.0, which means you're, in clinical or nutritional ketosis, and your blood sugar should be down to like 80. And this is when you wake up in the morning. So they're not the only ones who's that benchmark. I remember, I think it was Stephanie Persons talked about that, your morning glucose should be like 80. And I don't remember what she said about ketone levels. But anyway, so this is the whole idea this is where you optimize the healing process. And say healing process, in my case we're talking about leaky gut syndrome or increased intestinal permeability. And so what happens is the lining of the small intestine has a cell wall that's only 1 cell thick, and food's supposed to be broken down and then pass through that cell wall into the bloodstream as nutrients. But what happens sometimes is the space between those cells opens up. They call it the tight gap junction. And when the tight gap junctions open up, then food particles pass through into the bloodstream. And this triggers an immune reaction because your body thinks that you have an infection floating around in your blood. So it produces antibodies and other immune system responses. And they go out and they wind up attacking tissues in your body. Like in my case, they wind up attacking your skin. So can attack your joints and other things as well. But the idea is by eating the right diet that those gaps will close up again. And once those gaps close up again, then the immune system will stop reacting because the food particles won't be leaking into your blood anymore. So in my case, and like I said, I'm sure they treat people with other conditions and different medical histories and stuff like that at Paleo Medicina. So the advice might be different, but that's kind of the goal, and that's why I'm doing it, to heal or reverse the leaky gut syndrome, and then get rid of the psoriasis, and then bring other foods back in and test them. Now, we do have memory. Your immune system does have sort of a memory system or memory cells. So if they detect similar particles, they're going to react very quickly again, at least in theory. So, but if the tight gap junctions are closed and food particles aren't leaking in, the immune system's not going to detect them. So, in theory, you should be able to start eating foods again as long as they're foods that don't cause the tight gap junctions to open. Of course, gluten, wheat gluten in particular, is known for causing this problem, and also things like NSAIDs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and I stopped all medication or supplements or anything because a lot of them actually are designed to pass through that's the intestinal wall readily, and it's their fast acting ability to pass through that actually can cause the problem, actually cause that tight junction between the cells to open up. So I'm not taking anything at the advice of Paleo Medicina, which I'd imagine is going to be a similar advice for other people, but I don't really know. I'm not really an expert on diet. I'm just going through it. I want other people to know that it's out there. I thought the services at Paleo Medicina were very affordable, especially considering the alternative, the medications and stuff for this. One of the types of medications that people use for disease like this are biologics. They tend to be very expensive. They could have tremendous side effects. So obviously, if a dietary intervention can do it, then why mess with the drugs? Why? I know a fellow online who, I think it was a second dose of one of these biologics and his liver failed and he had to have a liver transplant. So that's pretty scary. And people have all kinds of other typical side effects. I mean, just watch TV, see the commercials for the biologics. You'll see them for psoriasis and other autoimmune diseases, like stuff like Humira and stuff like that, and just listen to all the side effects that you could have. So think about adding the money and the risk. And I was very confident diet had a good shot at fixing the psoriasis because it reversed my arthritis dramatically, quickly, and I've been feeling so much better anyways. So I thought if I got the help of some experts that I would probably be able to manage this without any medication and get on to not having this problem plaguing me. So anyways, I know a lot of people out there have psoriasis a lot worse than I do. I know a lot of people suffer from it a lot more than I do, a lot longer. They lose their fingernails, their skin split open all over the place, and they don't want to leave their homes. A lot of people's faces become overpowered by it. So anyways, I hope this helps somebody out there. I hope that people enjoy the video. Feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know how I can make the videos better. I hope I address the questions on what to eat for some of the people out there who are curious about the PKD or Paleo Ketogenic diet. And please pass the links along to people who might benefit from the video. And if you could subscribe, that would really help. I'd like to get to over 1,000 subscribers. That's kind of like the low-hanging bar as far as making it on YouTube. But let me know what else you'd like me to address, and I hope everybody out there feels better.